Welcome to Global Pulse Live, where we bring you the stories that shape our interconnected world. I'm Amina Hussein, and for the next 25 minutes, we're tackling some of the pressing global issues: migration and its impact, the power of multilateralism in solving global challenges, and the effects of climate change. This episode features insights from 4 experts and 4 analyses, providing in-depth perspective on these global challenges. Stay tuned as we unpack these critical topics. And remember, you can stay engaged beyond the show. Follow at Global Pulse Live on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Kenya's affordable housing plan promises hope, but can it overcome land disputes and rising costs? Desperate journeys across the Mediterranean continue as Europe struggles with asylum policies. Kenya secures a UN Security Council seat. What does this mean for its global influence? COP28 leaders pledge to cut carbon emissions, but activists say it's just talk. Where is the action? The Kenyan government has unveiled an ambitious affordable housing program under the Big Four agenda to address the growing house deficit in urban areas like Nairobi and Mombasa. However, challenges such as land disputes and high construction costs threaten the project's success. Our reporter Marion Abel with more on this.
As the government pushes forward with its affordable housing agenda, the success of the program will depend on overcoming financial and logistical challenges. The big question remains, will this initiative finally bridge the housing gap, or will it fall short of its promises?
Of Kenya's affordable housing program, there's land disputes, we have bureaucratic delays of raising of construction costs, and additionally, maybe it's not access to affordable financing for both developers and buyers, which remains a major hurdle. Now, how well will the government plan to ensure low-income families? This will be, the government will introduce tenant party scheme and is working with financial institutions to offer subsidized mortgage plans. They're also prioritizing social housing projects in formal settlements. Public-private partnerships are crucial on how we're going to improve affordable housing delivery. These are public-private partnerships are crucial, and developers can help with funding and expertise, while the government provides lands and policy to support streamlined projects. Thank you.
Kenya is set to start work on Phase 2 upgrade of Kibra slum, and Soweto residents have been given 1-month eviction order ahead of the housing project. Kibra was identified for redevelopment since it is one of the largest slums in Africa, with an estimated population of 400,000 people. The project is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Housing and is part of the planned upgrade of the slum, which has been divided into 4 zones. Speaking during the Tuesday groundbreaking of the Kibra Soweto Zone B social housing project, President William Ruto said the government will enter an agreement with the contractor in order to allocate at least 40% of works to locals. The project, which will take 2 years to complete, will see 4,054 low-cost houses constructed. President Ruto said 2,500 workers who will be employed during construction are also to be examined and issued with recognition of prior learning certification to help them secure jobs after completion of the housing project. The houses will be issued under the tenant purchase scheme, where a 2-bedroomed unit will cost 4,600 Kenyan shillings monthly and 3-bedroomed unit 6,500 Kenyan shillings. President Ruto said that in the next 1 year, his government will have started construction of 200,000 housing units because this is a project that cannot wait. The government also targets ensure 50% of constructed houses fall under social housing. At least 200,000 houses are to be constructed annually to meet the 2 million annual demand. The ambitious project is also seeking to tap into pension funds for 1 trillion Kenyan shillings financial backing for construction of 1 million low-cost housing units by 2027. Counties have been urged to allocate land where the projects will be located, and Nairobi County already has 3,000 acres of land targeted for housing development. Groundbreaking of 25,000 housing units in Makongeni is also scheduled for next month. The project is aimed at offering residents opportunity to become house owners through affordable rent-to-own program from as low as 2,400 shillings per month. State House spokesman Hussein Mohammed said local manufacturers and Jua Kali sector are expected to provide various construction materials, as the government seeks to turn the housing challenge into an economic opportunity and spur job creation. Soweto B is the second affordable housing project Ruto has launched since he was sworn into office. The president is seeking to make Nairobi the center of affordable housing projects. Nairobi will have 5 ongoing projects for a total of 29,026 units by December.
The big question remains, will this initiative finally bridge the housing gap, or will it fall short of its promises? Reporting for Global Pulse Live, my name is Samira Mohammed.
The ongoing Mediterranean migration crisis has seen thousands of migrants and refugees from Africa and Middle East attempting dangerous crossing into Europe. Rescue missions have intensified, but European countries remain divided on asylum policies. Our reporter Nevi Loyata with more on this.
I cannot advise anybody to enter in Libya. You will die for nothing. You stay there every day. They are coming to do a bad things to you, to do a bad things. One day they will kill you.
The cases mainly are of traumas, of people who have lesions. They are of traumas, of people who have lesions from tortures, and sometimes it seems that they really use knives to torture them. The lesions are so well defined and so strange that you see that they are made for on purpose.
Chanter, donner de l'argent, vous avez souvent encore tué. Parce qu'il tirait aussi les 2 jouets.
Oui.
On n'attend pas, je suis là comme ça. La vie en Libye, vraiment, c'est une vie en fer. Vraiment, moi, je rêve à ça. Vraiment, je ne sais pas comment un homme peut vivre encore après ce genre de choses.
Another 4.
So my name is Steve KU. I'm a policy analyst. Now there are 2 key factors. One is poverty and conflict. where now many migrants see Europe as their only hope for safety and also economic opportunities. So we are providing medical aid, search and rescue operations or missions, and also we are advocating for human asylum policies that will act as a blueprint in terms of this crisis. However, our resources are far stretched, and also sometimes we are also getting political resistance, from the home countries. More investment in education, economic opportunities, and also conflict resolution in these host countries. That has to be very, very necessary to be able to avoid or to be able to mitigate this crisis when it comes to migrants.
That was not all from us today, but before we dive in deeper, let's take a short commercial break before we come back. Stay right here with us.
Kote nchini matumaini, tujitahidi, tujivunie, tuendelee. Twende mbele.
Kenya, twende mbele. NCBA, go for it.
Kenya recently secured a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, with President William Ruto emphasizing the country's commitment to promoting peace and cooperation in East Africa and beyond. Our reporter Nevi Loyata will more on this.
It is a historic moment for Kenya as it takes a seat at one of the world's most powerful decision-making, the United Nations Security Council. With global security challenges on the rise, Kenya's leadership is expected to play a key role in shaping peacekeeping efforts, conflict resolution, and international cooperation. Kenya secured the seat after gathering overwhelming support from the international community, reflecting its growing influence in regional and global affairs. The country has long been recognized for its contribution to peacekeeping missions and diplomatic mediation, particularly in conflict-prone areas like Somalia and Southern Sudan. As a non-permanent member, Kenya will serve a two-term, participating in key decision-making on global security threats, humanitarian intervention, and counter-terrorism efforts. Experts say this position could boost Kenya's diplomatic standing and strengthening its relation with major world powers. With its new position at the UN Security Council, Kenya now has a unique opportunity to shape global policies while safeguarding regional peace and security.
We are profoundly conscious of the urgency of this moment in working to strengthen a multilateralism that serves the interests of our people in the Council, thus being an effective guardian of durable peace. Our mission will be innovative and open to new ideas and approaches, especially in strengthening prevention and regionally anchored solutions.
We acknowledge that these 5 incoming members, because of their prior long-standing experience with the Council, will bring much depth and focus to the issues of peace and security.
We will work daily to ensure that we live in a peaceful and secure region and in a global order that is respectful of our sovereignty. I conclude by echoing the words of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta during our campaign for this council seat. And I quote, "Trust in us, stand with us, and we will ensure no one is left behind."
The question is, how will the country leverage this role for lasting impact? Reporting for the Global Pulse Live, I am Nevi Loyata.
The United Nations Climate Change Conference saw world leaders pledging to reduce carbon emissions, but activists criticized the event of lacking binding commitments from major polluters. Our very own reporter with more on this.
During the conference, governments reaffirmed their commitment to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. New agreements were made to transition away from fossil fuel, boost renewable energy investment, and support vulnerable nations affected by climate change. However, major emitters stopped short of legally enforcing their commitments, raising doubts about implementation. Developing nations, which bear the brunt of climate change impact, have been vocal about the need for concrete financial support. The conference saw renewed discussions on climate financing, but many countries argue that previous pledges remain unfulfilled.
My name is John Nyanga. I'm an expert in research methodology. I'm here to talk about multilateralism. When we talk about this is an approach between multiple of countries coming together, or rather collaboration of multiple of countries coming together to achieve a common goal. When these countries come together, they form an organization. The organizations that are formed, there are challenges that they discuss. One of the challenges might be health pandemic. Another challenge might be climate change that affect these countries. There are trade regulations. The organizations that are formed out of these countries, when they come together, one I can say is the World Trade Organization. Another one, we can talk of United Nations. The main organ of United Nations, we can say, is the UN Security Council. UN Security Council deal with their main purpose is to promote peace and security. Okay. We see Kenya being one of the members of the UN, and which they joined this United Nations in the year 1963. It helped so much to strengthen security, governance. It also attracts foreign investments, and it provides direct and indirect benefits to the country, which helps in promoting peace and development, security within the country. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Anne Wangeshi, and I'm an environmental activist. So many have been promised, but there are no strict rules to enforce these rules, because big polluters keep on polluting these companies because they have no clear deadlines or any penalties that are being given. So without these clear penalties or deadlines, reduction will forever remain to be voluntary. So you asked me how the developing countries like Kenya handle this case. So for me, for developing nations like Kenya, they balance this economic growth with sustainability by investing in green energy such as reforestation, sustainable farming, green energy. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, yeah. Which can still, this can still drive economic growth while still reducing the environmental harm. So policy incentive can also be set in place that encourages businesses to adopt eco-friendly practices. So the action that should be put in place to curb this climate change effectively, I think the first one is invest in renewable sources such as water, energy. I don't know if you get my point, but when we put these stricter rules and regulation in place, it will prioritize in place so that this climate change functions effectively. Is one, the urgent investment in renewable sources of energy, such as stricter carbon regulation, green energy, more climate, like more finance should go into climate sector for vulnerable nations. Yeah, public awareness also should be put in place for grand activism, which plays a key role mostly. So that's my take on this.
Secretary General, thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, we are 9 months away from COP26, a critical milestone in our efforts to avert climate catastrophe. And I am very pleased that the incoming COP president is here to discuss with all of you the road to Glasgow. The past year has seen welcome progress. I thank those who showed leadership by announcing bold new commitments at the Climate Ambition Summit I convened with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and the President of France in December. Countries representing 70% of the world economy and 65% of global carbon dioxide emissions have now committed to net zero. 2 weeks ago, I met with the chief executive officers of the Net Zero Asset Owners Alliance, a coalition that represents over $5 trillion US. And they have committed to double the size of this group by COP26. This is a meaningful momentum, but of course, it's not enough. The world remains way off target in staying with the 1.5-degree limit of the Paris Agreement. And this is why we need more ambition on mitigation, ambition on adaptation, and ambition on finance. The global coalition for net zero emissions needs to grow to cover more than 90% of the emissions. And this is a central objective for the United Nations this year. The drive to net zero must become the new normal for everyone, everywhere, for every country, every company, city, financial institution, as well as the key sectors such as aviation, shipping, industry, and agriculture. At the same time, all commitments to net zero must be underpinned by clear and credible plans to achieve them. Words are not enough. By COP26 at the latest, all countries need to come forward with significantly more ambitious nationally determined contributions with 2030 targets consistent with a net zero pathway. The major economies and members of the G20 must lead the way. Developing countries, particularly the small island developing states and the least developed countries, must be given the support they need to enhance their climate ambition. The science and the economics are clear. Coal must be phased out by 2030 in OECD countries and by 2040 in all other countries in conjunction with a just transition. Investments in coal are a losing proposition. Financing for coal and other fossil fuels abroad must stop and be redirected towards the clean energy transition. Climate impacts in every region and on every continent are worsening.
During the conference, governments reaffirmed their commitment to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. New agreements were made to transition away from fossil fuel, boost renewable energy investment, and support vulnerable nations affected by climate change. However, major emitters stopped short of legally enforcing their commitments, raising doubts about implementation. Developing nations, which bear the brunt of climate change impact, have been vocal about the need for concrete financial support. The conference saw renewed discussions on climate financing, but many countries argue that previous pledges remain unfulfilled.
And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Global Pulse Live. Thank you for staying with us. We appreciate the insights shared by our experts and analysis, and the most important, Your engagement as our audience. Remember, the conversation does not stop here. Stay connected with us at Global Pulse Live across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I've been your host, Amina Hussein. Until next time, take care.